Selecting CINAHL headings for your CINAHL search. This tutorial is brought to you by Lister Hill Library of the Health Sciences at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. For this tutorial, we're going to continue our clinical question example from the PubMed tutorials. Does cognitive behavior therapy reduce anxiety in children with autism spectrum disorders? As a refresher, here is how our search looks divided out into the PICO format. And here are the mesh terms we identified for our different concepts that optimized our search in PubMed. Unfortunately, the subject terms that worked best in PubMed do not necessarily translate to other databases. This is because each database has its own unique topical focus and thus its own standardized subject vocabulary. CINAHL is a nursing and allied health database, so its standardized subject vocabulary is geared more toward those disciplines and is less granular for biomedical life sciences topics. So while it would be nice to use the exact same search statement in every database, that approach is not actually the best way to ensure you're finding all articles on your topic. It's best to scope out the subject terms of each database separately using a similar approach to what we did in PubMed. Just be aware that not every database has a standardized list of subject terms. Google Scholar, for example, does not. But if a subject term list exists in a database, it's best to consult it. CINAHL's standardized subject headings are called CINAHL headings. This list of subject terms is made up of a subset of mesh terms from PubMed, so you will see some overlap in terminology, but as I mentioned before, many other terms that focus on nursing and allied health are also included in the list of CINAHL headings. Let's go into CINAHL now and see how we can identify the best CINAHL headings for our clinical question. In PubMed, we search the mesh database to look up keywords and let PubMed suggest the best subject headings. CINAHL has the same kind of lookup feature, but it's called CINAHL headings. Click this link at the top to access it. Let's start with looking up cognitive behavior therapy. We can just enter the search terms here and click Browse. While the layout is different from the mesh database, you can see that the same basic information is here. It's telling us that if we want to search for cognitive behavior therapy, we should use cognitive therapy. So this is an example of a subject term that happens to be the same as the mesh term we used in PubMed. If you click on a term, it will show you where it falls in the CINAHL headings hierarchy or tree. We can see that there are no narrower terms underneath cognitive therapy. To select the suggested subject terms so you can search by it, check the box next to it. You'll notice that a list of subheadings then appears to the right. CINAHL offers a way to search by subheadings or narrower aspects of a term, just like PubMed does. For this search, let's just go ahead and let CINAHL search by all subject headings, which it does by default. If you look further to the right, you can see that cognitive therapy has been selected. You have the option to search for this subject terms as a major concept. This will retrieve only articles for which cognitive therapy is a major focus. We will leave that box unchecked since it's usually a good practice to start your search fairly broad and narrow it only if you need to. The Explode checkbox is grayed out because there are no narrower terms underneath cognitive therapy. You may remember from the PubMed tutorial that we searched each term separately and then combined them using PubMed's search history. This approach allows greater flexibility if you end up needing to try different combinations of terms. Let's run separate searches in CINAHL as well. Once you've made your selection, you can click Search Database. This will retrieve all articles that have been tagged with cognitive therapy as a subject term. Now we need to go back to CINAHL headings and look up our other two keywords, autism spectrum disorders and anxiety, to see what subject terms are suggested. Click CINAHL headings again. Now let's enter autism spectrum disorders and click Browse. We can see that CINAHL suggests using autistic disorder. This differs from what PubMed suggested for autism spectrum disorders, so it's a good thing we checked the CINAHL headings. If you ever need to read the definition of a CINAHL heading, click this small icon next to the term. This will display the definition or scope note. This seems to be the subject term we want, so I'll go ahead and check the box next to it and click Search Database. I'll click CINAHL headings once more so we can search for our anxiety term. One thing you will sometimes notice with CINAHL headings are odd-looking entries like these. They look relevant and are tempting to include in your search. However, you can ignore CINAHL headings like these. Don't let them confuse you. They are not meant to be used for the kind of searches you will be doing. Instead, focus on subject terms that are not followed by words in parentheses. From scanning this list, I see both anxiety, specific types of anxiety, anxiety disorders, and specific kinds of anxiety disorders. I'm going to click on anxiety to see the hierarchy. Let's select anxiety and tell CINAHL to explode this search so that it will also search by these three subtypes of anxiety. As you know by now, I would generally recommend going ahead and running this search now. However, I want to show you how you can add another CINAHL heading to your search at this point. Click Back to Term List. Let's check out what types of anxiety disorders fall underneath that term. For our clinical question, we're really interested in any of these, so we can do like we did for anxiety. Check the box next to it, and check Explode. Now we have both terms selected and can search for them in a single search. Since these two terms are synonyms in our search, we can select Combine Selection with OR and click Search Database. Now we are ready to combine our individual searches. To do this, we can click Search History underneath the search blank to view all the searches we just did. Note that you can do a number of things from this page. You can print your search history, which is helpful for tracking what terms and combinations you've tried. You can also save searches if you've created a MyEBSCOhost account, which you can do by clicking Sign In at the top of the screen. Having a MyEBSCOhost account is helpful if you want to save searches or results so that you can access them later from any computer. From this screen, you can also rerun any individual search again by clicking View Results next to a search. There are a couple of different ways to combine searches. One way is to use the search IDs like we did in PubMed. Another way to combine searches is to check the boxes next to the searches you want to combine into a single search. Then you can click Search with AND. You can look here to see the number of results we got when we combined our searches. Don't get discouraged if you get 0 results when combining searches. You will normally need to tweak your search in a variety of ways before getting an acceptable number of results to review. To view these 14 results, you can scroll down on this page. If you want to hide the search history, you can click the small triangle at the top next to Search History. As we scan the list of titles here, it looks like we have several highly relevant articles that will probably help us with our clinical question. Let's click on one of these results and take a look. The CINAHL headings assigned to the article are located here. You can see that they are divided into major and minor subjects. This one was retrieved because it has all the CINAHL headings we searched for in our combined search. Don't forget to look at these subject headings as you search for other term ideas you might not have thought of. Lastly, don't forget to click the Article Linker button to find out your options for getting the full text of an article. This concludes this tutorial on searching CINAHL using CINAHL headings. For more information on CINAHL, visit this guide created specifically for OT 653. Don't forget to ask the SHIP Library Liaison, Susan Smith, if you need help, or use the library's Ask a Librarian service.